So I definitely didn't make it as far as I thought I was going to after the last video. I did manage to go through and kind of clean this up and buff it out. You can see the scratches on the inside. There's scratches on the inside, but if you can see all that right there, it scratches on the outside. So the thing I learned, you want the outside as clean, as fresh as you can get it, because any scratches you see out here, it looks like they're on the inside when you're trying to sand them out. Now, when I was doing this, I started off with 60 to take out these ridges that are in it. There's actually these ridges in there. You can see them. When I pull this other one off, I'll compare them again too, but now those ridges aren't in this section right here. So I started off with 60, got most of that out, dropped it down to 150, and then I went to 400, I think, and then 400 to 600 to 1200, 2000 to 3000, and then I'll have to buff this out with some plastic buff. But first, I found out that I want to take this edge as far down as I can, like this one, and take all that gray off of it, because there's some hangover, and that hangover is allowing, where's a good spot? There's a good spot, is allowing the powder to actually stay in here, and I can't get it out as well. So if I have this vertical edge, I'll be able to A, buff closer to it, and B, actually get all of the powder that's created from sanding out of this lens. I want this as clean as I can get it, so there's no reason to take it back out unless there's like a blown light or something, but hopefully that doesn't happen. So I want to make this as one-time shot as I can. I'm really trying to take my time, do it right, and make sure I don't have to reopen these up again, because if they fog up or I see a scratch, it's going to bug me, and I'm going to have to take them out, do it all over again, so might as well do it right the first time. One thought that I had on this is, instead of sanding it, maybe I should try to add to it. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I went out and got some JB Weld, some clear JB Weld, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I can add this to it and it will fill in those little divots and make it flat enough to where I don't have to sand it down, because that will take a step out of my process, sanding it down, buffing it, all that stuff. If I can just add some glue and smooth it out, then that will make my life easier. So I found this old chunk of, I guess it's a lens. It's got the ridges in it, as you can tell if I go to the right side. It's got all these ridges in it, and I tried to glue it. Now this is that glue, and you can see that it doesn't quite do, it looks good on the camera actually, but if you're looking through it, you can really see all those little ridges still. So it doesn't quite get down all the way to the bottom as well as I wanted it to, and it leaves a really rough surface. It's not as uniform as I thought it would be. There's really ridges, these bumps in here, so nothing landed smooth. So I went back to the drawing board essentially and just decided to sand it. That's it. I'm just going to sand it. It'll make it a little thinner, but I took my time to make sure that I didn't sand all the way down with my 60, like didn't get all the bumps out. Got them out with the 150 that took all the 60 scratches out. And then went to the 600, and that was just finalizing it. So I only went a little bit lower than what the deepest part of the dip was. So that made it a little bit easier, or a little bit thicker. So hopefully it will keep that thickness and not be prone to breaking if it gets super hot or super cold. I'm kind of worried about that, but we'll see. It's still pretty thick. It's a lot thicker than most of this, like this one was. It was still a lot thicker, so we'll see. With me not getting as far as I wanted to get, I'm gonna quickly buzz this one off so I can show you those ridges that are inside of here. You can hear them. I'm gonna show you these ridges, compare them to this one that I've got, and then continue working. So when I come back, hopefully we'll be comparing this lens to the new lens. Now I haven't buffed it or polished it or anything. I've just final sanded it down to 2000, I think 2,000, maybe 3,000. I don't know. I'll check. And anyway, so that way we can see the before and after. And then I still haven't figured out my pattern for this. I assume it's going to be the same. Follow that welded ridge all the way around. But this part right here, there's a tab that actually goes into the cab. So this part has to stay, which is convenient because my lights are going to be ending right about here, and that tab is way up here. So I'll probably just come across this, save this part, and then come down and go around this way. There's another big shoulder that's going to not be fun because this is the part that actually goes into the body. That the lift gate comes down with this lens. This isn't the right lens for that side, but the lift gate will come down and it sets in here like this. That's not the right, this is the opposite, it's the other one, but here. Guess we can show it this way. So they actually match up like that and sit in there. There we go. So it'll sit in there like that. So anyways, I'll get to this, we'll compare them, and then we'll move on to the next ones. Here we go. So this was the whole, most of the point of getting this out is to take care of all those ridges. This is the clear one, and this is the original. So all these ridges that are in here had to come out, and then it's going to look like this. Because I'm going to have my LEDs that are going to come across, and it's not so much a big deal on this one. It is kind of down here. That this one's smaller than this top one. I want to have uniform LEDs. I don't want to have this side smaller than this side. But I'll have this be my strip, and then I'll have this come down. Well, the orange is going to look kind of funny. You can see all the cracks in this one. This one's got a ton of cracks. I want to have my LEDs coming across this way. It's not so much a big deal on this section, but once I get past that and over to this side, those LEDs in the middle are going to come across here still, and then they're going to end out here. Well, if I have this part that has that texture on it, and then some that doesn't, when the LED is going to be diffused right here and not over here. So it's going to look funny. So this is the part where I put a big disclaimer across saying, do this at your own risk. So there's a potential for cracking and breaking of a lot of things in this, the way that I did it. Now, that being said, it was the most efficient way that I found doing it, because I tried grinding this down, this part, and as you can see, I wanted to get it down to the clear, and I'm having troubles keeping it uniform all the way across. I've got these divots going in here when I'm getting this gray part off. So this is the old one, or the first one that I did that I already sanded. Now this is the one that I just got done doing. And as you can see, I have a lot less gray on it and a lot more uniform. There's still some burrs left on it, but what I did was actually take some pliers, and the weld between the gray and the clear is actually the weak point. So what I did is I took pliers on here, made sure I wasn't on the clear part, put them on here and rocked it back and forth just gently. And that was enough to allow it to break where the two are molded together. So this is the disclaimer. Don't do that if you're really worried about, or if you're close to a crack like this one. I've got this crack that's right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's these cracks that are right here that I'm probably gonna not do that on, but it's the best way that I've found so far doing it. I've tried a couple different things. I've tried just sanding it. I've tried getting down to it. I've used the bench grinder. I've used Dremels. I've used the air Dremel, whatever it is, grinder. It's probably a better word for it, grinder. And nothing seems to be as good as breaking it off. Now, it's like 97 outside today, so that might be helpful. Might keep that in in mind, but I'm not responsible for any of anybody's stuff. If they do this, they say they saw it on here, proceed at your own risk, I guess, because there's a very good potential that these can break. So I'll show you what I did, and you can make up your own mind. So this is what I did. On the corners, each of the corners are going to be a hard spot to break off, because there's not only this, let's say this is horizontal, but it's also got this vertical section. So you want to, I've just used vice grips, put it on here with it close to the edge. You can kind of see where the two pieces mold or are welded together, and just gently rock it back and forth, and all of a sudden it will pop. Now this one has this edge here that's not being used. You can see it's broken off on that section, and what I did was just put it right on the gray. You don't want to put it on the clear, so put it on the gray, wiggled it back and forth, and managed to break chunks off. Now I just broke that off, and of course it's not going to focus, but there's hardly any gray where I just broke that off. So, and I've got a nice chunk. That leaves a lot less work than this side. I tried grinding this down. I've only got two places where the clear actually is. This is probably a more uniform way of doing it. It'll give you a better edge, but I'll go back and hit the bench grinder on the parts that I've already done. Because this one, you can kind of see, like, there's a chunk that came out of it. There it is. Maybe there, right there. There's a chunk that broke out with it. It's a good finger size hole. It goes up here, right there. So it did break that, and there's, honestly, that's the only place that I got, but you can kind of see that it's not quite flat. Some pieces broke off differently. Some parts of the gray was held on there better, but I haven't sanded this down at all, and there's hardly any gray left on there. There's a little bit up here, it looks like. Oh no, that's ground, or just some grinding marks. So I'll have a lot less work to do trying to get that gray off with this one than the other one, and I'll just repair that when I go to put the two pieces together. I probably have to put silicone in there, maybe clear silicone, to mold the two together. So we'll get back to this. I'll show you. I just grabbed onto this, broke this tab off that's extra, broke that off, and get that out of there, or not. Get it on just the gray itself, and the reason I use vice grips is because I can get a pretty good grip on it without having to hold on to it. There, you can hear it cracking. There it goes. Chunk off all the way down to the clear. You really want to go slow on this and get just the bare minimum that you can and wiggle it back and forth, because that will give you a lot better breaks and a cleaner overall finish. See, so I've got, this one's actually held on there a lot harder than the other ones, because the other ones just broke clean off. So I'll have a little bit more work to do on this, but it's a lot less work than trying to grind through this thick of material. Of course I drop it. Trying to grind through that thick of material and meet perfectly up with this one, this clear section. So the less you have to do, or the less work, the better. I would have never been able to do that with a grinder and get it that close. There was a little bit at the end that broke off right here. It's kind of divoting in, which I'll figure out. I guess I'll have to figure out what to do with that, but it's not terrible. As long as it's not breaking on this front side, then we're doing pretty good. So there it is. There's the part, this whole section I did by breaking it off, and this section I did by grinding it. You can see that this is left a bunch of gray actually on it, and it's got a couple divots in it, which aren't terrible. There's a pretty good one right there. You're not going to be able to see. There you go, now you can see it. So, I mean, it's faster, but honestly, this might be the best bet for getting a decent edge to adhere to, because at some point, this is going to have to go on to another piece of something. So you're going to want that edge to be flat, smooth. I might have to do something fancy with this because those LEDs are going to be sitting in here. And it's going to need to be further back. So things to think about. But I'm really digging the clear, no ribbed lenses. I think that these, they look okay. Not really, that's a lie. These will look a lot better. I'm going to be very, very happy with these once I get all these scratches. There they are. There's all the scratches. There's even more in this one. I think, yeah, there. Now you can see all of them. They're on the outside, so I might fix the outside ones first and then the inside. Yeah, probably that. Because what I was doing, I was having problems with it. Because what you want to do is you want to sand either vertically or horizontally. That way you can see when you switch your sandpaper. So if you're sanding with 60 this way, you switch to vertical with your next one. 150 is what I did. And that way you can see if there's any scratches or sanding marks going horizontal, you know you need to get those out. When you're going vertical and you're stepping down, you're taking less and less material off as you step down between your sandpaper. So you start off with super deep and you get those in there. Well, that's a common practice of doing sanding is you go vertically and then you step down and you go horizontally. Then on the next one, you'll step down, you'll go vertically again. So you have your horizontal or vertical lines as reference on what you need to know to get down. Because the more or the further you go down or higher up in numbers of sandpaper, the harder it's going to be to get those deep, deep divots out. So it'll take a lot longer. So you want to make sure you get it all on those first ones. The problems that I had with these was these ridges go all the way to this piece right here. So I managed to get most of them out. You can kind of see the tips. There you go. You can kind of see the tips in there where I didn't want to just completely blast out this one and destroy it. So now I can get to all the gunk in there. Clean those out. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you're liking this. I'm trying to get this done kind of as fast as I can, but I'm still waiting on my parts to come in. My LEDs still haven't come in, and my main resistor pack for the LEDs, still waiting on those. They should be here, I think they said next week, which is a long time, but thank you guys again for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.